so close.
It's overhang, man. Look where this rain is coming down. It's a good, nice distance out. And because this is gravel and we're on top of sand here, and this whole meadow is just so sandy, it just drains.
Thor's red oak. Still going strong. Still lean green. Fighting machine.
New Wild Homestead family member that we're going to be picking up next week, or this weekend rather, is the Wild Homestead dog. And there's good news and bad news. The bad news about the dog is this: we're not getting an Irish Wolfhound. The good news is this: we're getting, I think, a much cooler dog and much better for the Wild Homestead situation. So why are we not getting an Irish Wolfhound? It was my dream dog for a very long period of time. I'd say the dog that we're getting has been a very close second in my heart. And what I've discovered about Irish Wolfhounds is that an Irish Wolfhound would actually be a terrible dog for a homestead. Number one, they are sight hounds. They chase everything and anything that they see. They're also known as wanderers. Like, they will wander long distances away from their owner. It's like, that's not necessarily a great thing that you want, I think, on a homestead. Problem number two, they are terrible guard dogs. So when I went to the breeder, and I recommend this to anyone, if you're going to get a new dog that you've never had, like a new breed, go to the breeder, actually spend a few hours with the dog's parents, with the puppies, and with other members of the species, the breed rather, and really find out what they're like. Ask a lot of questions of the breeder. What I discovered at the breeder is that the dogs are so friendly. They're too friendly. She had like 6 full-grown Irish Wolfhounds at her place. They all came up to me as soon as I got out of my truck, and they were licking me, and like, they didn't know me. And I kind of jokingly said, like, oh, these guys are great guard dogs, eh? She said, no, they're actually terrible guard dogs. I'm like, well, what happens if like a UPS guy comes to the door or something? She's like, oh, they never bark at anyone. I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's not a good thing. Because if we have an evil trespasser in the middle of the night, we want the dog to rip his face off. Like, we don't want the dog to go up and lick him, right? So that's a problem. That is a problem when you're way out in the country. And say Sophie Turner and our kids, or the Jonas Brother kids, are in the cabin. It's like, you want to know that they're safe. So that was another strike against the Irish Wolfhound. The third strike against the Irish Wolfhound is that they're not even the real Irish Wolfhound. So the Irish Wolfhound technically went extinct somewhere back in the 1700s. It was the 1900s. A British fellow tried to recreate the breed. He took a Scottish Deerhound, crossed it with a Great Dane and a Mastiff and a Borzoi. And I think there was one other breed in there to produce what the modern-day Irish Wolfhound is. The modern-day Irish Wolfhound is much bigger than the historical Irish Wolfhound. To be honest, it's kind of a clumsy dog. There are some breeders that have Irish Wolfhounds now that are getting up to 200 pounds. They're the tallest dog breed in the world. They're not even a functional hunting dog anymore. This is what I found out. People can't hunt with them. They don't have the stamina. They can't run as fast because they're mixed in with like a Mastiff and a Great Dane, and like those are not hunting dogs. So the Scottish Deerhound, which is more of like 100-pound dog, that's a much more lithe dog, a much more athletic dog. The Scottish Deerhound never went extinct. So that's kind of a real, ancient Scottish Deerhound. So I was disappointed to find that out. Like, the modern Irish Wolfhound is really a shell of what the historical Irish Wolfhound was. It's not a functional hunting dog. It's a sight hound. It chases anything and will wander far away. And it's a horrible guard dog. So those 3 reasons for me, I'm like, this is actually not a good breed to have for a homestead. So anyways, the breed that I got was literally bred for homesteading. It has a very interesting connection to not only the Roman Empire, but to Julius Caesar himself, one of my favorite Romans there is. I think it's a very cool dog, and I'm very familiar with this breed because someone in my extended family has one of these dogs. I did a lot of research, and they're the one. So I'm picking them up. I know there's some folks who are going to be disappointed out there. Trust me, I was very disappointed too. I think this is the right decision. Whoa.
I am James ALOFS. I left the big city to build an off-grid homestead on 40 acres of Canadian wilderness. This area of Ontario has giant ridgelines, deep valleys, and pure rivers. Black bears, gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, and many forest spirits share the land. I started in November 2023. Starting with a modest 12 by 16 foot guest cabin, my goal is to build such a glorious homestead that I attract a magnificent wife and raise 10 babies. Welcome to Wild Homestead.
So you see this piece, it's in there super snug. There's still a gap at the top and a gap here at the bottom. So if it does shrink, I don't think it's gonna hold any of this up. Whoops. Oh, crud.
Wow. Sandhill cranes. Man, they look like Canada geese. So I think most of them, it's working out okay. It's pretty tightly packed, very tightly packed. Okay. Oh, that's not bad. Can cock that up. It's a little bit more filled though. That's pretty all right. It's got a bit of a hump in the log here, but it's still pretty darn good, man. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's a bit better. Oh, close. Close, gotta shave a tid. Bro, I just needed to smack with the hammer a few times. That's the first double joint. It's pretty good. It looks a lot cleaner doing it this way than doing, you know, chunk by chunk like how we started out.
Literally, like this carpentry stuff, I think the more you do it, the more problems you see, the more things you can kind of learn. So literally having built nothing before, it's going to be interesting doing all this kind of finishing work because, you know, I think it's going to learn a lot. It's a very different skill set than cutting big logs and stacking them on top of each other, you know?
How this works.
Well, folks, we got some excellent news re the stove. So I guess some good news and some bad news, mainly good news. So I got a message from a Canadian stove maker and they saw the video last week and they're like, hey, why don't you try out one of our stoves? I checked out their website and it looks fantastic. So we're getting a free stove. And with all they're giving me a fresh air intake, which is something that was actually back ordered for the stove we originally got last week. So I returned the U.S. stove this morning. I also found that U.S. stoves are not made in Tennessee. They're actually made overseas and they import them. So it's cool to be going with this brand. They are from Quebec, La Belle Provence. Zut alors! Très bien, très bien, très bien. Oh my goodness, guys! I just got into the truck to go back and get the second half of this last load of logs from my neighbor's sawmill. Got a flat tire, man. So now we got to swap out the tire, change the tire. It's going to be the first time on the truck, and thankfully my tires are warranted, so the dealership's either got to fix them or replace them, which is good. I got in contact with the Chief Sawyer at NORWOOD, shout out NORWOOD, and sent him some pictures and videos of the logs, and he said, yeah, the black staining, he's like, blue-green staining is okay. That's actually desirable in many cases. He said the black staining, he's like, I would not use those on any habitable buildings. He's like, you can use those on outbuildings as long as you nuke them with vinegar or borax mixed with water, and you scrub them, you power wash them. He said that should stop it in its tracks. He's like, but I would not use that in a habitable structure, because he said the black mold can be dangerous also to human health in terms of an interior building. And he said also, if you're sawing anything in the future and you see black mold, again, not green, blue, but black, he said stop sawing it, because you do not want to risk inhaling any of that stuff. So that was really interesting. You know, there's some logs, like look at this guy. He's very clean. There's other logs that are kind of like half and half, and there's other logs that are just, I think, are gone. But luckily this vinegar water solution for cleaning seems to be working pretty well. I was only able to get 3 logs from the new batch done, so we're going to need a lot more when I go back in town this weekend, a lot more vinegar, and get a whole bunch of those jugs filled up at the local well. Victory! Victory! Yes! Man, that was the first tire I've ever changed. It's pretty straightforward, but always weird doing something for the first time. I honestly think this is only probably the second flat tire I've ever got in my life. But the owner manual, it's pretty straightforward. Water, baby. Just came back from the spring. Literally just water coming out of a mountainside with a little rubber hose. Pretty sweet. Well, folks, I had a very non-restful night. 3 bears. I think it may be the same 3 bears that I saw earlier in the summer. I think it was about 2 o'clock when I checked my phone later, but I woke up and at the front of the tent was this black mass. And I was like, just before I could do any reaction, I said, get out of here. This bear rifled off in that direction. So anxiety levels spike, anxiety levels come down. After that bear moves, there's another bear down by the cabin.
He's looking at me. Anxiety respikes. Then I say, get out of here. And I slam my hands together in a big clap. All of a sudden, there's a bear on the other side of the tent. He takes off in that direction. This bear is still standing there. So then I yell as loud as I can. I'm like, get out of here. And that bear down there slowly walks down the cliff. I don't know if you guys can tell. There's almost like a kind of a hole, like a little path. I've only walked down there maybe 2 or 3 times this summer to get to a blackberry bush. I think there's more critters that walk through this campsite than we realize. Quite a roller coaster of emotion in whatever it was, 5 or 10 seconds. But to be honest, like I've now run into so many bears where, you know, I'm definitely, I'd say less anxious about it, but I'm still, there's a very healthy respect there. There's about 1.5 inch gap on top of that block. And what I'm doing is I'm having the block kind of sitting on this lower panel instead of kind of on top of the top plate. And I think this is the way to go because, as you know, a number of commenters pointed out in the last video, I believe it was, with these blocks over here, the problem is that stops airflow, because what you actually want is airflow going up over the top of your insulation. And then ideally you want to have some kind of venting on your ridge cap on top of your roof. And we do, right? So we installed the vented ridge cap. There's that foam blocking that allows air and moisture to come out at the top.
Lovely. Okay, so we got all this plywood, cedar chunks, 2x6s. We rearranged all of them so that they're at the right perpendicular angle to the rafter. So this will be holding the bats of insulation from sliding down. The idea is, this is a piece of aluminum soffit. So this, we're gonna stick it up here on the underside. Nice, 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 nice. King Henry V, the oak tree. Oh, could have done it a little bit higher.
Dang, this thing's pretty rusty.
Nice. Nice and straight. And voila, we are done this side, plugging all the rafter holes as well as the top plate gaps. We did the whole thing this time with this 1-inch board. Where is it? We didn't go 2x6 like we were doing with the other side. We were doing with this 1-inch. It's about a 1x6 cedar chunks. So we still got to caulk it in, but nice. That's still big, guys. You can tell everything on the stove, the quality of the gasket, the handle, the door, even the quality of the fire bricks. Everything just seems better with this Drolet than compared to the US Stove Company. Okay. Moment of truth. Let's see what these logs look like in here. Oh, nice. Dude. Heck. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, heck yeah. Okay, folks. We're all caulked up. Again, that's the last of the black colored LePage, you know, the Henkel sealant that I'm using. I definitely prefer the clear stuff. It's just, it doesn't stain anything. It looks a lot better. So we're sealed up. Now to finish the soffits, this part of the rafters here, keep the critters out. And you see we still got our air gaps maintained. You know, we're gonna take a little walk down this this new trail that I spent a day and a half of hard labor clearing.
Reading this crazy book on Boudica, who was this Celtic warrior queen, right kind of in the period where the Romans were just in the process of conquering the islands of Britain. And what's fascinating, she was like the head of this tribe called the Icene or the Icene, the tribe that she was from. It was basically from what today is modern day East Anglia, kind of the eastern portion of southern England that juts out into the channel. They're finding coins, buried coins of the Icene. And what they're finding on these coins is that there's Celtic style writing and iconography, but there's also Germanic runes, and there are symbology from Germanic mythology or Norse mythology. One in particular they found was a coin with a one-eyed looking deity or figure on it. And that, they're basically guess, historians, is almost certainly a representation of Odin, which is in the Norse or the Germanic pantheon. Remember, in ancient Europe, you have four kind of meta socio-cultural groups. You've got the Greco-Romans or the Mediterranean, you've got the Celtic, you've got the Slavic, and you've got the Germanic. Those are the four kind of meta groups. So the idea that on ancient Britain, you had one of these very important tribes in East Anglia that was probably some hybrid between the Celtic world and the Germanic world, because the Celts historically were in the center of Europe, the Germans were in the top, and then the Greco-Romans were in the south, and the Slavs were in the east. So that's how it was kind of divided up. But it's just fascinating. Like, there's speculation. Was Boudica and the Icene or Icene, were they maybe 20% Germanic, 80% Celtic? Because they would have had a lot of trading linkages to Northern Europe, right? Up into the Jutland Peninsula, where modern-day Denmark is. Frisia, which is like modern-day Holland. Check out the book. Crazy. 80% Celtic, 20% Germanic. Folks, now the next thing to finish off the corners here is to do something which is very novel. I have never seen anybody do this before. It's kind of an extrapolation of what we were doing with some of the splining on the windows. And I think it could be a very interesting solution that we could put in right now and then never have to worry about critters coming in at the corners. So let's try it. I think let's try it on 1/4 and see what happens. This could be a horrible idea. But as Billy Shakespeare said, boldness be thy friend. Ooh-wee. Man, that multi-tool is a beast. We just channeled it up, baby. Oh my goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen. We are pretty much done. That was a ridiculous amount of work. Don't know if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze on this guy. But let's see. That's pretty sweet. This 2x3 is not the right width, but it's pretty sweet. I mean, the problem is there's still gaps. These gaps are arguably smaller than these gaps, which is an improvement, especially like on a log like this that doesn't reach right over, right? Like that's easier to seal. The problem is, like, if we go any deeper, you see where this bolt is coming down between the two logs here? If we get any closer to that, I'm worried that we're gonna start to affect the structural rigidity of this wall. You know, next spring, going with like Portland cement or some kind of permanent chinking, and then fill in these gaps, the gaps there. So then we never have to worry about critters coming in there. I think it was worth the risk, though. It was worth it. I think we're still going to put the 2x6 and the 2x4 in there. This is going to be behind the stove. So this is going to be in the corner. I just did some more etching with this old guy. Hopefully that'll do her. Okay. That holds pretty well just by itself. The juice ain't worth the squeeze. You can see these, so these are smaller gaps than are on the outside. Have also left 3 inches at the top for settling in case it needs that move. The logs need to slide down, but pretty clean. Pretty clean. Whoa. Guys, we're going with an engineered oak. This is red oak, the same species of oak, the northern red oak, like Henry V and Thor's red oak that we got up the ATV trail. I really wanted to have oak flooring. I didn't go for the solid oak flooring because that was about 25% more expensive. But this still has a layer of oak on the top, and then it's got several laminated layers of softwoods beneath. So you get all the benefits of having a hard floor. So this is much harder to scratch up. If you use softwoods on your floor, they'll just get beat to hell and look pretty ugly pretty quick. So I wanted to go hardwood, and they had an engineered red oak hardwood that was made in Quebec, which is very cool, made in Canada. You have the underlayment down, folks, the Eco Coke form. Eco Cork foam, that is a tongue twister. And it says, you know, do these plastic overlays onto the, I guess, the glue strips, right? You saw me pull up this white kind of lining. Do that, but it says for all other applications, you should tape all the way around the edges to kind of seal it up, make it airtight, except if you have a wooden subfloor, which we do here, right? We've got 3/4 inch plywood down there. So we're not gonna tape around the edges. That makes it easier. I have no complaints about that. Thaws red oak. Holy cow. Have to cut that thing down. Oh my God. Here we go. This is box 7 of 7. Final one getting back there. Let's take her home. Storm clouds coming in, rain imminent. Time for a little breakfast slash lunch. We got a little minestrone soup with a tin of wild sockeye salmon mixed in. Delicious. Would you look at that? It's not super hard. Like, I'm glad we put that that underlayment, the Eco Cork underlayment. It was about $200, almost $200 with tax to do just this 12 by 16 feet. But I'm really glad because there's no noise. Like, there's the odd creak, but it looks good, folks. Man, I'm glad we went with this natural red oak. It just it works really well with the white spruce and the balsam fir log walls. I like it. I like it a lot. What? Oh my God. Guys, we got another oak tree. King Henry V. We have Thor's red oak. And we have this other oak. By the way, I'm meaning to film it, but Sif's red oak is dead, guys. She died a few weeks back. Went down and down and down. Like, her leaves, they didn't even go red like a northern red oaks would usually in the fall. It just went to brown and they fell off. So unfortunately, I mean, the key learning there is do not move oak trees if you find them, because they have these tap roots. Like I think I said a few episodes back, the oak tree, when the acorn sprouts, and if the canopy is blocked above, its taproot will keep growing and growing and growing, going further and further down into the earth until it gets its shot. And it could keep growing for decades until they get a break in the canopy
and they get their opportunity to grow, and then the oak tree starts to shoot up. But you just can't move oak trees. You're going to end up killing them. So you see this maple tree here. There's another maple over there. There's a maple. There's quite a few maples actually, just juvenile guys around here. Before the leaves fall off, we're going to have to go around and mark these with marking tape. I'd say probably the maples and the oaks, and just mark them out so that this winter, when we're doing all our forestry work, when we're clearing this road back to the meadow where the build site is, that we do not take those trees down. Stove equipment, here we go. So there's actually quite a few stove components that we ended up having to get. Now, all the components, I ended up going through 3 different brands. I got 2 different brands for the original US stove company stove we had. And then when Drolet gifted me their stove, they had a partner that sold components, but it was a different apparatus, different company, right? So I couldn't get those for free, so I had to buy them. But they're really, really high quality. Also made in Quebec, La Belle Provence, Soutalord. So I think we got the best stuff we can get. You know, it's been honestly, I probably spent 3 or 4 full days just fooling around, researching the wood stove, how to install it properly, all the different components, back and forth on like what size.
When lighting the heater for the first few times, it may be wise to open doors and windows to ventilate the house. The smell of curing paint does not disappear until 1 or 2 very hot fires have been burned. Interesting, the instructions on our NORWOOD's manufacturing stove that's in the tent was light the first fire outside. I don't know, it doesn't say that we have to do that with this one. Maybe we can just do it inside. Here is Sif's red oak. I'm gonna move her back to her original spot just to see, you know, now that the season's over, transplanter, see if she can survive over there. But guys, what I didn't really realize was that we got 2. It looks like that's I don't know if this is a red maple or sugar maples, but these are great trees, man. This guy looks bigger. Maybe we could prune this one at the bottom, but I'll take one of them out. But this is already a pretty good sized juvenile maple. And the maple could absolutely be turbocharged by the 1% Xander poop, 99% James poop reservoir down there in the former Thunderhole. So I think this will be great. Like, this is a great spot. So Sif's red oak did die, but this is great for a big, strong sugar or red maple, because they drop maple nuts, and the bears and the turkey and the deer, moose, everybody loves them. And they're just beautiful trees. That's great. I just missed me recording. I missed recording me dragging that thing over there. I basically had it edge to edge to edge to edge while keeping the plastic underneath of it. But I tried lifting that thing up. I think it was close to 250 pounds. It's just awkward. You might be able to, you know, pick up like a barbell with 250 pounds. That's easy to grasp, but something like this is pretty awkward. Just took out these 2 screws. They were within the box, holding the plywood subfloor down to the double 2x6 floor joist below. So that may have been why that chunk is not coming out. Oh my Lord. Well, that doesn't help. Take me to bed, love me forever. Oh, it's just a smidgen too tight, folks. There we go. Just took a little bit of shaving. But this thing's 12 by 12, which is to code.
Okay, I just figured out this is the wrong side up. We're gonna switch.
Okay, I just spent probably an hour going through the manuals, trying to figure out, you know, how to do these steps. So it's a lot of spinning the wheels, figuring this out. It's definitely harder than I thought, this whole process. You know, these past kind of 2 weeks, 3 weeks looking at this. But we're going to continue. I think we got to get this box finished. That is the correct next step. Okay, my cell phone's gonna die in 2 seconds. It's 7 o'clock. The sun is setting in about 15 minutes, but this is critical. We got this thing framed up properly. And then we're gonna take it from here starting tomorrow. But this is, I think this is the critical thing to get lined up. Everything flows from here. This is the main thing that supports what's above and below. So getting this, this firebox through the sleeping loft floor is key. That in there. This in here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do vegan chili on Wild Homestead.
Guys, that's coming from just up the river. Oh! Dude, they're so close.
Oh my goodness. Okay, folks, hopefully one of those screws has gone through the metal on the outside, but we just used
the 4-foot level to get the 2 lines, 1 line on the other side, 1 line on this side. Then we used our 12-inch speed square, which is nice. This is 12 inches, was exactly the measurement we need, right? 12 to 12, those 2 lines. We just use the center point at 45 degrees as the center line. And then accounting for, there's about a 1/4 inch into this board. So basically 11 3/4 inches over. And then the middle of that is where we tried to sink our screws. So I think one of them went through. Let's go check on the outside. Oh, bingo. You guys see this?
Hello! Hello there! Okay. Guten Morgen! So guys, I got one of these angle grinders. This is a Milwaukee tool. It was on sale for about $220, and I got it on sale. So this is the best tool as far as I can tell for cutting steel like this. You can get a metal blade for a circular saw, but that is going to be only cutting in straight lines. You can't do like the curved lines like I need to do for cutting this out. So I might just use this to cut this and then return it, the grinder. I don't know if there's a lot of other uses for a tool like this. Okay, I just kind of traced the shape that I need to cut for the metal with the grinder. I didn't cut all the way through. I started cutting and then I'm like, I should trace this first. I traced my pencil marks. So let me change the angle over. It's the heart. I don't know if you can see it. The sun's kind of harsh. Okay, folks, we got it. It's probably a little bit more than 1/4 inch. It's hard to control the depth of this thing, right? You might start to go in straight and then it starts, the further you go and it kind of curves out. But I guess it's better to dig a little bit more. There's more clearance, and then, we'll definitely, it's not that much if you look at the whole beam like this compared to that. There's still a lot of strength there. We'll put a steel plate on the other side. Whoa! I see the silhouette of a little man. Scaramouche, will you do the fandango? Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening.
I've tapped in a few other metal screws here where I use these self-tapping, these little guys to start it. I think I'm gonna take these ones out and replace them with just these regular deck screws, just in case these don't pass muster with these little rubber gaskets. It would suck if the whole cabin burned down just because of that gasket, you know? We got 3 on each side. This thing is solid as solid can be. Some of that Amy's organic alphabet soup with 2 cans of wild coho salmon. Bones in, baby, bones and skin. Only way to go. Okay, you guys see these 2 nails? What I realized is that you see right here, I cut it a little bit too further down. I ended up having to shimmy it up further than I thought to get it plumb. So I've cut this extra little bracket. So this is gonna sit up in here to make sure that the water it's shingled, right? So that this is on top of this is on top of that. So it's just right here at the bottom. But then also these 2 nails, the gap between here and the plywood's a little bit higher, so I could use screws here, but I had to use a nail, like a 3-inch nail here. Also had to use nails there. But just gonna shimmy this up. Crap. See, that should be perfect. I just cocked the absolute bajoingus out of that thing. I put so much caulking up there, man. You know how if there's the United Nations Human Rights Tribunal, if there was a United Nations caulking tribunal, they probably would have sentenced me to either life in prison or death, but better to have a little bit too much than a little bit too little. Guys, honestly, so sticking in these stainless steel wool pads, they're fitting in very nicely. And the nice thing is that backer board L bracket we put in, that we decided to stop doing, it actually holds it in perfect. It's nice and tight up against there. You see on the top of the bottom, and then I can just come back with the oakum and fill into the oakum. Et voila. C'est fantastique. C'est fantastique. Been doing all these corners here, guys. Like big sections like this, I've got a 2x8 chunk back there that I scribed to fit. I scribed to fit something there. And I've got steel wool on the bottom 4 in behind there. And then I've done the same on this side, on all these corners. Done the same down here. It's these 2 chunks here. This is the biggest one, so we're gonna cut a chunk of Folks, the chinking is done. The chinking is done, baby. We got all 4 corners. The cabin is finally sealed. It's finally sealed. Wow, this oakum is awesome. I don't know if we're gonna use the permachink or the mortar on top of it. We might ride out the first winter just with the oakum to see how it does. I like the look of it. It's very nautical. It's cool, man. You know, covering it up with something else, I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. The oakum can last a long time, especially if you just reapply pine tar onto it, you know, every 5 or 6 years. It can literally last forever if you keep applying that pine tar. So there's stave churches in Scandinavia that are treated, the wood is treated with pine tar, and if there's any chinking with oakum that's treated with pine tar, those stave churches have literally been around since 1000 AD. So pine tar is like the real deal, man. Okay. Sweet. So the hearth pad I'm going to cut later. We can cut off the edges. I just want to get it fired up tonight because I gotta leave, so I gotta make sure it works. But we need 18 inches of clearance from the front to the pad. So 18 inches is maybe right about here. We've got about 5 inches. We can bring this back. So we'll cut the corners and then shift it back into that corner there.
Holy cow, it took me like 10 minutes to get these these big fire bricks in at the top. That was tough. Now we gotta, these are all the other fire bricks. There's 4 different sizes of brick. You know, 10s, 11s, and 9s, and 8s, 4 different kinds. We gotta make sure we put these in here properly. But geez, these might sit, the 8s might sit on top of the 10s and 11s. Dude, no diagram of the bricks? No close-up diagram of the bricks. Are you kidding me? What do you think I am, friggin' Gandalf over here? Stove Gandalf? I can just figure this out by myself? Nice. Okay. Thank God.
So we're going to pick up the homestead dog tomorrow. The plan for the winter is this. We're basically going to be building all the outbuildings over the next 6 months of winter. And the critical thing is to get the foundations dug for all the outbuildings we want to build over the winter, basically by mid-December. In loose order, woodshed, outhouse, sauna, which is going to be down near the river, shed for the sawmill, shed for drying lumber, and forest gym. Those are the 6 buildings that I hope to build over this winter. And with leading into in the spring, starting the construction on the main home out on the peninsula over there. So that is the plan for the winter. Now, our firewood situation, the first structure we're going to be building is the firewood shelter, and it's going to be a big one because I want it to hold 10 cords of wood. Now, a cabin like this, as far as I can tell, will probably go through 7 cords of wood in a winter. One cord is 8 feet long by 4 feet high of 16-inch long hardwood logs. So I have not been harvesting any firewood, as you may have been able to tell, because way back in the spring, I lined up getting firewood from one of my neighbors. He's a retired fellow. He literally gives firewood to probably half of this valley. We already have 3 cords from him. We're probably out in the driveway. We're probably going to be getting 2 cords per week over the next number of weeks. So we got to get all that stored away into our wood shelter, which is going to be very close to the cabin, kind of set over there. The rest of the outbuildings, if this cabin, which I kind of wanted to do half modern, half old timey, I think most of the outbuildings I'm going to do in a slanted old timey fashion, still all with steel roofs. But I want to try to use as much material from this property as possible, especially now that we have the sawmill. So I'm pretty excited about that. And especially, it'll be nice going all of our winter ice bathing in the river and whatnot with a sauna first. That's actually enjoyable instead of basically pure suffering. So I'm really looking forward to that, guys. And that's the plan for the winter. Get all the foundations dug and then build the outbuildings over the winter, leading into the main home in the spring. Further note, this winter, we'll probably spend a half day or a day every other week traipsing over to the ridgeline over here. On this property, there are no mature hardwood trees, and hardwood trees are the trees you want to use as firewood because they burn much hotter and much longer. They're much denser. So that's what I realized in the spring was this spring, why I lined up the wood for this winter, is that in the spring, when we were in the midst of struggling to get this done, it's already too late, even if we were chopping wood then, to get it ready for this winter. The wood we chop and gather from over there this winter will be seasoned in time for next winter. It's basically a 12-month cycle out. So that's the plan, Stan.
Amazing. Wow, it burns so differently than my Northwood's, just, you know, regular non-airtight stove. In the instruction book, got the fire extinguisher here. In the instruction book, it says the first 2 fires should be like small fires. So I'm just gonna keep those three small logs in there. I'm gonna have to sit up for a few hours just to make sure this thing is functioning properly, but we got all the right clearances. You see the 2 braces on either side. We got it shaved down. Just gotta make sure this thing doesn't catch on fire.